I'm Lily Thompson, 28 now. I'm sitting in a cozy, sun-filled room above a quaint Italian restaurant, looking out at the bustling street below. It's been a year since the truth about my family came out, and my life is a far cry from the one I once knew in that seemingly perfect household. It all started when I was rushed into the emergency room. I was in excruciating pain, my body broken from a fall. As I lay there, my parents, Dr. Richard Thompson and Mrs. Isabella Thompson, stood by my bedside. They were more concerned with crafting a story than with my well-being. They said I was taking pictures on the roof and slipped, a tragic accident due to my carelessness. Little did they know that the X-rays were about to shatter their carefully constructed lie. Growing up in a wealthy neighborhood in New York City, our family was the envy of many. My father was a well-known cardiologist at a top-tier hospital. His name was often in medical conferences and journals. My mother was a high-profile fashion designer, with her designs gracing the runways of Paris and Milan. Our large penthouse apartment was always filled with the who's who of the city, and our family was constantly in the social spotlight. We were three siblings. My older sister, Ava, 2 years my senior, was the golden child. She was a student, a champion figure skater, and had a voice that could bring down the house. She was destined for Ivy League schools, and my parents never let her forget it. My younger brother, Ethan, 5 years my junior, was the charming rebel. He was always getting into minor scrapes like spray painting graffiti on a wall once, but my parents just laughed it off, saying he was just finding his way. And then there was me, Lily. I was the middle child, the one who blended into the background. I got good grades, but nothing compared to Ava. I was on the school's environmental club, but it was nothing like her leadership positions. I discovered photography in ninth grade when my art teacher, Mr. Rodriguez, lent me an old film camera. Through that lens, I found a way to express myself, to capture the beauty in the ordinary and the hidden stories in the city. As Ava entered her senior year of high school, the pressure on her was immense. She was practicing figure skating for hours on end, aiming for national championships. Her grades had to be perfect because Harvard had been the family's dream school for generations. My parents constantly reminded her of her grandfather's legacy and how proud he'd be if she got in. One day, a local photography exhibition was announced. On a whim, I submitted a series of black and white photos called the In-Between. These photos captured the spaces between buildings, the empty benches in the park, and the unoccupied seats at family dinners. To my shock, I won first place. For a brief moment, I was in the spotlight. My parents talked about hosting a small event to showcase my work, and my father mentioned a client whose daughter was in a renowned art program. But Ava wasn't happy. "It's just a local thing," she said. "It's not going to get you anywhere. You should focus on something more practical, like pre-med." My parents quickly agreed, and the conversation shifted back to Ava's upcoming figure skating competition. That's when I first realized how fragile her perfect image was. Any attention on me was a threat to her carefully maintained status. As time went on, Ava's behavior became more erratic. I'd hear her crying in her room at night, and her figure skating performances started to decline. She was losing her edge, and the pressure was getting to her. Meanwhile, I was getting more serious about my photography and started applying to art schools. One evening, during dinner, I announced my plans to pursue a career in photography. My father's face turned cold. "Photography is a hobby, Lily. You need to be realistic. You have the potential to be a doctor, just like me." My mother chimed in, saying that many doctors had photography as a side hobby. Ava, surprisingly, said, "I think Lily's photos are good, but she should still think about her future." But there was something off about her words, something calculated. A few days later, I overheard my parents arguing with Ava. They were scolding her for her dropping grades and lack of focus. My mother said, "Lily mentioned seeing you at a party, when you should have been practicing." I was stunned because I hadn't said anything of the sort. They were using me as a weapon against Ava, creating a rift between us. The next day, Ava confronted me. "Did you tell them about the party?" she demanded. I told her the truth, but she didn't believe me. Her eyes were filled with suspicion and something darker. Things took a turn for the worse when my photography portfolio, filled with my best work for art school applications, was destroyed. The photos were soaked in water, and my digital backups were deleted. I knew it was Ava. When I confronted her, she just looked at me coldly and said, "You think anyone cares about your stupid pictures? You're just in the way." One fateful day, I was on the roof of our penthouse, taking pictures of the city skyline. Ava came up to me. She started talking about how sorry she was, how stressed she was. I almost believed her, but then, in a split second, she pushed me. I remember the feeling of falling, the wind in my face, and the terror. When I woke up in the hospital, my parents were there with their rehearsed story. But a young doctor, Dr. Lopez, who was new to the case, started to notice something strange about my injuries. The X-rays showed that the fall wasn't consistent with a simple slip. She started to dig deeper, despite my parents' objections. As the investigation unfolded, I gathered the courage to tell the truth. I showed Dr. Lopez Ava's diary, where she wrote about how she had to eliminate me to save her own future. I also had photos from my camera that showed Ava's expression just before the push, and photos of my injuries that didn't match the accident story. My parents were furious. They tried to convince me to take back my words, saying that it would ruin Ava's future and our family's reputation. But I'd had enough. I chose truth over loyalty. The legal aftermath was tough. Ava got probation and was sent to a psychiatric facility. My parents faced charges for obstruction of justice. Their professional reputations were in tatters. My father's hospital started to review his cases, and my mother's fashion brand lost many of its clients. I now live with the Moretti family, who own the Italian restaurant downstairs. They've shown me what real family means, a place where love is unconditional. My photography has evolved. I'm now focusing on capturing the stories of survivors, using my camera to give a voice to those who have been silenced. Looking back, I realized that my family's obsession with perfection led to their downfall. In trying to maintain a flawless image, they created a web of lies and deception that ultimately destroyed them. But for me, it was the beginning of a new, authentic life. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and truth? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you believe in the power of truth, hit the like button and subscribe to share more stories like mine.